A few years ago, the cheapest foldable you could buy would cost you $1,500 US. This, the Infinix Zero Flip, would cost you $612 US. For that price, it's one of, if not the cheapest foldable you can buy. Is it any good? Well, to answer that question, we need to specifically look at two things: its hardware and its software. Now let's start off with the most important part of a folding phone: its hinge. It's the thing that helps the phone fold. So if it's bad, then the phone obviously will be bad. This phone's hinge is pretty good for a couple of reasons. Number one is that it's gapless, which is how it should be. Because when the phone is folded, there is little to no gap in between. And this is really important for the phone's durability, because if there's a gap, things like dirt, dust, debris can find its way into the phone and damage the inner display, which we do not want. Another thing we don't want is the hinge falling apart after using it for a while. Infinix says they've tested the hinge for 400,000 folds. Actually did the math. If you're folding and unfolding, say 100 times a day, which is a lot, by the way, it'll take you almost 11 years to get to that number. 11 years. So yeah, I think it's safe to say that there's nothing to worry about. I also like that this hinge can stay at multiple different angles, from 30 to 150 degrees. That lets you really benefit from this folding form factor. You can use the phone as a sort of tripod or even camcorder if you want. A lot of the more expensive folding phones have the same ability, so to see that this isn't missing that, it's definitely a good thing. Another thing that this doesn't miss out on is a big cover screen. One might think that because this is a cheaper folding phone, you'd be getting a really small cover screen that can barely do anything. But that's not the case here. We get a pretty large 3.64-inch cover display, which is compatible with a lot of popular apps like TikTok, YouTube, WhatsApp, Google Maps, and a couple others. And then for the apps not supported on that cover screen, you can actually open them up using the Play Store app. So if you want to play Asphalt 9 on the cover screen, you can if you want to. Don't know why you would, but you can. Now you might realize that apps don't take up the entire screen. It takes up a portion of the screen. That kind of bothered me, but then I realized that if the apps filled up the entire screen, the experience would definitely be worse. But yeah, just like other more expensive foldable phones, this has a big enough cover screen that is not just aesthetic, but functional. Foldables tend to have impressive specs to match their impressive high prices. They get really impressive displays, they get fast processors, they get top-of-the-line cameras, you get the gist. But because this is a cheaper foldable, you might be wondering, does it also get impressive specs? Starting off with the cover display, that has a 1056 by 1066 resolution, very close to 1080p. It has a 120Hz refresh rate, Gorilla Glass Victus protection, and it's AMOLED. The inner display, on the other hand, has a 1080p resolution. It also has a 120Hz refresh rate, but this time it's LTPO, and it's also AMOLED. These are very close to flagship specs. Not quite ultra flagship, but still very impressive. The processor powering the Zero Flip is the Dimensity 8020. It's a powerful 6nm chipset that would deliver a smooth experience. But it's not flagship. And I think this is the first area that you would notice a real difference between the ultra expensive foldable phones and this foldable phone. But then I would also argue that some people might not notice. Most people do basic things on their smartphones. They open WhatsApp, Instagram, they play games, they watch videos. That's about it. If the phone they're using allows them to do all of that without any real hiccups or unnecessary delays, they'll be fine. If they're using this, they're not going to go,
"Oh my god, it's 20% slower."
Or, "Oh my god, this app took 1 second more to open." They're not. So I guess what I'm trying to say is that this is a very capable processor. It would handle all of your phone tasks very well. But at the same time, because this is significantly cheaper than other more expensive foldables, they did use a cheaper, less powerful processor. It's good, but not flagship good. The Zero Flip has 3 cameras in total, and they're all 50 megapixel cameras. These are actually better numbers than most other foldables, including the really expensive ones. But does it take better photos? I wouldn't quite say that, but what I would say is that it takes really good looking photos, specifically the wide and ultra wide camera. I've had the Zero Flip for about a month, so I've been taking a bunch, and I mean a bunch of pictures. They're detailed, the colors are accurate, skin tones are on point, and it was mostly consistent. Overall, I was just impressed with it. And then of course, because this is a foldable and the cover screen is large enough, you can use that wide and ultra wide camera for your selfies. And as you can tell, they look great. In fact, I would tell you not to use the inner display's selfie camera because it's just nowhere as good. Just stick to using the main cameras. Trust me. Okay, so this is what the front-facing camera on the Infinix Zero Flip looks like. I'm currently shooting in 4K 30 FPS. It's supposed to be good with like stabilization, and obviously at that resolution, you should expect like a decent amount of quality. So let me know what you guys think of this front-facing camera of the Infinix Zero Flip. Down in the comments. Let me know. Okay, so this is what the rear facing camera looks like. Currently shooting in 4K 30 FPS. What does the video quality look like? How does the audio sound? You know, just let me know what you think. So the cameras are, again, impressive. Maybe not ultra flagship level impressive, but impressive. One area where the Zero Flip might actually even outperform the ultra expensive flagships is in the battery segment. The Zero Flip has a 4,720 mAh battery, but more impressively, it supports up to 70 watts of wired fast charging. For its battery life, you can expect 6 to 7 hours of screen on time, which is fine. But because of that ridiculously fast 70 watt wire charging, it takes its battery experience from fine to really good. A 15-minute charge would give you more than 40% battery. That's insane. A+ battery life. Okay, now here are some other random hardware-related features. The Zero Flip has 2 speakers, 2 JBL-tuned stereo speakers. And I didn't really get the chance to talk about this earlier, but this phone's design is really nice looking. It's very sleek. I got mine in grey, and I don't know if you can tell, but it has my name on it, which is cool. And yeah, this phone achieves the whole purpose of being really small when folded and really big when unfolded. Oh, and I also like the fact that you get a bunch of accessories, which is something that is rare with even the really expensive foldable phones. For $600, you are getting a lot of good stuff. You're getting really good build quality and close to flagship specs, which basically means that you're getting about the same experience as the really expensive phones for less money. But you see, all of that won't matter if the software isn't good enough. So, is this phone's software good enough? Before we answer that, we should probably ask what makes a phone's software good enough. Now, everyone might have a different answer, but I think overall we would still end up with 3 things: features, stability, and longevity. This is running the latest XOS version 14.5, which is based on Android 14. And yeah, it does come packed with a ton of features. We have the usuals like the dynamic bar, theft alert, peak proof. There are also all the AI features, Folax, the new AI wallpaper generator, the AI sketch to image generator, the AI eraser, smart cutouts, Gemini, who you can ask basically anything, and all the other ones that I don't currently remember. But then, in addition to all of those features, there are also the foldable exclusive features. Under personalization, you'd find customized cover screen and cute pets. So rather than just giving you basic wallpapers for the cover screen, with XOS you get the option to really customize and make your cover screen unique to you. I really like the creative lens options, that's probably number 1 for me, and then a close second would be the cute pets. XOS is also quite stable. I've used this for more than a month and I have rarely experienced bugs or even crashes. It's definitely one of the more stable OSs out there. The one thing I'll add though is that, as usual, we get some pre-installed apps. Now it's way less on the Zero Flip. We also don't get those ones that send you like a bunch of notifications. But if you're like me and you don't want to have apps that you don't use on your phone, you can easily uninstall them. And then for longevity, well, Infinix is promising that with the Zero Flip, you'd be getting 2 years of major OS updates and then 3 years of Android security patches. Personally, I think it should have been 3 years instead of 2, because yes, even though this is a cheaper foldable, it's still an expensive phone. And when you pay that much for a phone, you want to get the best out of it for as much time as possible. So is this phone's software good enough? For me, it is. But I do wish that I got at least 3 years of OS updates. At the start of the video, I asked a question. Is the $612 Infinix Zero Flip any good? After looking at its hardware and its software, I think it's fair to say that the answer is yes. It is good. I think they achieved their goal of making a phone that gives you about the same experience as a more expensive foldable phone for a mid-range price. Because yeah, even though throughout this video I've been comparing it with the flagship foldable phones, this is not a flagship foldable phone, it's a mid-range foldable phone. And it's a really good one too. Also, throughout the course of this video, I've also referred to this phone as a foldable, which it in fact is. But more specifically, it's a flip style foldable. Just wanted to point that out. Okay, so who should buy this phone? Well, first off, I don't think a lot of people are considering buying this phone because even though it's $612, it's also 1.1 million naira, which is a lot of money to spend on a phone. And then also because this phone folds, there's always that little bit of durability concern. This phone is a lot more fragile than regular phones. I think the average user wouldn't want to deal with that. It's kind of safer to just go with a regular slam phone. But if you're not an average user and you want to try out a foldable phone without spending $1,000, then this might be your next phone. That's it. Those are my thoughts on the Infinix Zero Flip. Let me know what you guys think of it down in the comments. As always, thank you for watching, and I'll see you when you see me.